Welcome friends. Today we'll be starting the tutorial for the Tranquility Dawn Blanket, which is a crochet along. And in this part of the tutorial, I'll be showing you the first part of the blanket. So we'll be using two colors, but you can use more than two, and you can use just one. You're free to do whatever you want with whatever colors you prefer to use. This is the prototype, and we'll be working these parts today. We'll be working from starts in rows, the section and this section. These are the rows that are included in this section of the tutorial. So get your yarn, your hook, get the free pattern, the description in my below. Get the free pattern and let's start. Okay, for the tutorial we'll be using Berber worsted weight yarn, which is number 4 yarn, weight yarn, and I'll also be combining this with it, the same make but different. Why you can use any weight of yarn available to you. I've made the prototype using a number 4 yarn, and I'll be using these colors today, and also a 6mm crochet hook. The gauge for the pattern is 12 stitches over 10 rows. So if you're using another weight of yarn, you're welcome to check the gauge. If you're really not particular about how big or small your blanket is, you can leave the gauge out. Since this is in rows and you can repeat as long as you want, you might really not want to check the gauge. It's really not important with this blanket. So we'll be starting with the part 1, and since I don't have interest in making another blanket, I'll be making a small scarf to show you how it works. So I'll chain 31 chains. Your starting chain should be in odd number. So I have 31 chains here. This will be my main color for the blanket, and I'll be using white whenever I need to make other contrast to this color. So now you make sure that you have double crochet in the 3rd chain from hook. So this won't be counted. Our 3rd chain from hook will make half double crochet, and in each of the chains across. So to make half double crochet, I assume you are familiar with that. That's yarn over, insert hook into the next stitch, and yarn over, pull through the 3. So that's what we'll do throughout the chains. Whatever the number of chains for the size you're making, half double crochet through it, and you have odd number chains. So I'm done with the half double crochet, and after this row I have 29 half double crochets. I started with 31 chain. So we'll chain 2 and we'll work bean stitch across. So this is a special stitch, and you can go with the description I've provided. So to make the bean stitch, the first bean, insert hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over. You don't want it to be too tight. Insert hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through. You have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over the 3rd time, insert into that same stitch and pull through. You should have 6 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the 6 at the same time, then secure with a chain. That's the first bean. So first made, skip the next stitch, and you repeat this on the 2nd stitch, which means you insert hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 2, yarn round hook, insert into that same stitch, pull up a loop. You can see what we have, yarn over, do that again, sorry, and you have 6 loops. Can you see how it looks? This is what we're looking to make, and this is where we are. the second row. Great. So secure with a chain, skip next stitch, yarn, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn around your hook, and do the same. You do that 3 times. Secure. Skip next stitch, insert your hook into that and pull up a loop, 2, yarn, insert and pick up, pull up a loop. You have 4 yarn loops around your hook, and now we have 6. You see that? Pull up and secure. This is how it looks, and this is how it looks on the other side. So let's make one together again. Skip the next stitch, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn around your hook, insert your hook and pull up another loop. You do that 3 times to have 6 loops on your hook, and you pull through. So I'll continue to the end and show you once I'm done. Okay, I'm at the end of the row, and you'll notice that we have 2 stitches left. That's why we need an odd number of chains. So you skip the next and you have your last bean stitch into the last stitch. Skip next stitch, work in your loop, your bean stitch into the next. Kind of difficult to insert my hook. Good. Yeah, and secure. Don't forget, you secure this, every of your bean with a chain 1, turn and chain 1 for the next row. So this is where we want to make the alternating bean look. Can you see this part that looks like a face stitch? Can you see it in the next stitch? Each of the bean stitches has those. So you want to skip the first bean stitch and work in a bean into the next chain 1 space. Don't get confused and work your bean into this. We're working our diagonal bean stitches now. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn around your hook, insert, and you repeat that till you have 6 loops and pull through. Can you see the positioning? This is the first from row 3 and this is the next one. So you skip the next bean, insert hook into the next chain 1 space, yarn over, and you have 6 and you pull through. Let's do one together more. You skip next bean stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, insert, do that 3 times and you pull through. So we have 2 bean, our second row made. So I'll continue that to the end and I'll show you. Yeah, I'm at the end of the row. You down into this chain 1 space or bean stitch. Don't get carried away and turn at this point. You have a shorter blanket as you go, so you need equal number of bean stitches per row throughout. Remember, we changed 2 at the beginning of the row of row 2, so you are working into the second chain, the last bean stitch. You see that? You yarn over the chain 1 to secure the last bean stitch, chain 1 at the next for the next row. So basically you're having 2 chains at the end. The first chain to secure the last bean stitch, and the next chain is the beginning of the row. You'll be working into the first chain when you at the end of this row. Great. So second bean made. Can you see how it looks, the diagonal feel? So this is what you continue to repeat. You repeat row 3 till you have your desired length of this section. Sorry, no yarn over. I get carried away doing that. So the bean stitch works pretty quickly but uses a lot of yarn. You continue this sequence till the end of the row. When I'm at the end of the row, I'll show you. So I'm at the end of the row and I'm working to the last chain space. I have 6 loops and then I'm done. That's secure with your chain 1 space. Great. So I've made 3 rows of bean stitches, and then I'll continue to the next part of the pattern. You're not making 3 rows. Remember, get the free pattern using the link in the description to know how many rows you're making for the length of the blanket you're making. So we'll go to the next row and we'll make our starting chain 2, and you're working half double crochet in first stitch, which will actually be the chain that we've used to secure, and then you're working another half double crochet in the chain 1 space, and you repeat this. At the end of this row, we should have the same number of stitches we had when we made the first row of half double crochet. So basically you have to be having that same number of half double crochets or stitches throughout the pattern, since it's a blanket and it has to remain constant. So at interval, make sure you check your stitches that you've not added and you've not lost, because it will really be disappointing to have to frog back many rows. So if we count, we should have 29 half double crochets. Do you like the texture? Great. So if you're making the next section in another color, now is the time to switch over. This is the part we just completed. We're going over to this section, but since I prefer to make this in a solid color, I only make my petals in A, this, so I'm not going to change. We'll continue. But if you are changing yarn, if you want to add the next color, when you have 3 loops on your hook, you drop this color and pick the next. Let me show you. Great. Oh, lucky. So if you want to change your color, you only do this. You pull through with the new color and you continue the next row. So it makes it easier and neater. So I usually crochet over these 2 and continue. But since I'm not using this color, I'll frog that back and continue with my second section. So we'll continue with the second section, which is part B of this part. That's row 1 to 8 in the pattern. We only make few rows. Chain 2, half double crochet in each of the stitches across. So I'll make few rows and come back. This row 1. I'll make some rows and come back. You'll go ahead and make your row 1 to 8 and then come back for the next section. Okay, so I have made few rows. I actually made 3 rows, so makes it 4 rows of half double crochet after our bean stitch. Now we're going into the next row for the petals in the pattern. That's row 9. So you start with chain 1, and you can choose to continue with this color or change over, but I want to show you how I did it in the pattern. So these are what we're making now, the petals. I've made them in the same color as the first part. You're welcome to make yours in a third color. You can go ahead and even use the same color to make yours. There's no limit to the color possibility in this beautiful afghan. So single crochet in the first 11, 13, 14, 17 stitches, whatever the number of stitches for the size you're making. So now I decided that since I'm making a very small sample, I'll be single crochet into this first 7 stitches. 8, this is the 8th stitch. So I've made 7 single crochets. This is the 8th single crochet, which indicates that I'll be making my petal in the next stitch. Don't get worried, these are what I've referred to as petals in the pattern. So because I'm making that nest in my white, after I won't complete the single crochet, I only keep the 2 loops on my hook. I'll introduce this next color and yarn over, pull through the end so that it doesn't get tangled in the way. Okay. Oh. Sorry for that. Yeah. Great. So I pull through. Next, I'll be making the petal. So to make our petal, we need to understand some terminologies. This is referred to as the first loop. This is front loop. This is back loop. And this is the third loop. Can you see it? Third, back, front, first. We'll be using those in the pattern, but currently we need to find the back loop. So this is the back loop. You work in a single crochet into that with the white first loop, and this is the front loop. We've worked a single crochet into the back loop. Chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. We chain 7, slip stitch into the same stitch, and pull through, because that's a slip stitch. Now you're walking into this chain. You walk in a single crochet, half double crochet, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 3, slip stitch into that same chain 7 space, chain 3, 3 double crochets, half double crochet, single crochet, and that's the end. Look how it looks. So remember to go back to where you came from. I usually flip like this. and you secure it with a single crochet into that same stitch. Does that make it any clearer? We'll make one more. So since I'll be continuing with this color, I'll pull through with this. Okay, so this is how the first petal looks like, and I've changed over to the next yarn. So now you note this is where we worked single crochet and petal stitch. We'll be working over both ends now, and we'll make 9 single crochets. You can decide to make small balls, but I prefer working over the yarn. Make sure it's not too tight. We'll count to make sure we have the number of stitches that we need. So we need 9. I think we have 8 now. Don't forget that when you're making the 9th stitch, you won't complete the single crochet. So to check that the white does not bleed through. If it does, you just have a gentle tug of this. So to change over, you yarn over and pull through. Have a gentle tug on this, and then you walk into the next stitch. Don't forget, in the back loop, into this stitch, back loop, single crochet into that, chain 7, I'm sorry, single crochet into the base, slip stitch into the base. You have a ring, and you walk into this ring, start single crochet, half double crochet, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, sorry 3, I got carried away, chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3, then you have 3 double crochets. Half double crochet, single crochet, and that's the end of the petal. Can you see how it looks? This is the first petal that we made. Can you see how it lines? Notice that it's not staying this way, but just on the side. Yeah, we'll adjust that later when we get to the next row. So to continue, you have to secure by working in at single crochet into the next stitch. Yeah, into the stitch to secure that, sorry. Then you make a yarn over and pull through. So we'll continue with our single crochet, and when I'm done, I'm only making 2 petals. I'll show you how it looks. Now row 10, I just made 2 petals, and I'm at the end of the row. Row 10, chain 2 and half double crochet till you get to your petal in the number of stitches indicated. I'm at the last stitch before the petal. See my petal here? So I'll drop this and pick up my white, yarn over and pull through. See that? Walking over my yarn again, work a bubble into this stitch to secure it. This is the bubble, secures that. So that's 7 double crochet together, yarn over, insert hook into this stitch. Can you see it? So it's kind of easier for you when you insert your hook into this loop where you made your petal. You do that 7 times. Okay, I've forgotten to walk over my hands. I'll frog that. So I'll be making the bubbles over the ends and the yarn I'm carrying along, so that we have few ends to sew in once we are done. Great. So 7 double crochet together, that's our bubble. My hook comes out through the chain 7 space, and like that. 1. So we'll do that 7 times. We'll end up having 8 loops. Great. So yarn over and pull through. You can see, but because we're using 2 different colors, we'll yarn over with the other color. This makes a smooth transition, and this is what we have on the other hand. So we'll continue with half double crochet the next 9 stitches. So at this point you need to make sure that you have 9 stitches when you do this. It's easy to miss or skip. So we'll do this until we reach the next petal, and we'll make another bubble. So depending on the size you're making, you have more than 2 definitely. You can see that it's bleeding on the other side. So I'll have a gentle tug. You see what I did? I pull this. I pull white so that it will not be that obvious on the other side. That's mainly from the other end that should have cut away. It's not from the other one. So this is the last stitch, the 9th stitch, with 3 loops on our hook. We yarn over with white, and we'll make the last bubble, which is 7 double crochet together. We'll end up having 8 loops around our hook, on our hook. Good. So you drop this and pull through with the other yarn. You see how neat it looks, and now it's sitting properly. We've secured the petal. So I'll drop the bee and walk throughout with my main color. Great. That's my hand down. I will need to cut. Can you see how it looks? And now it looks beautiful. So you continue working. You have your half double crochet rows, and then follow the number of stitches you make the petals. So I hope the short video was helpful. You have the same number of stitches you had when you made row 2. That will be true. The same stitches you should have throughout this the blanket. I had 29 stitches, so when I'm done I should have 29 half double crochet. So we'll continue the sequence till we are done with this part of the pattern. This is basically what the first part of the blanket is all about: making bean stitch and making the beautiful petals and bubbles. So I hope you make yours and share with us in the group. I can't wait to see your beautiful fashion. And this is the prototype. See you next week for the next, let me give you a sneak peek for the next section. The next section works so faster than section 1. So make sure you finish your part 1 and come join for the second section. Thank you. Bye.